Okay, it's 14 May, and it's Tuesday, I think. Shit. Yeah, I think it's Tuesday, and it's 5:25. I'm absolutely exhausted, and yesterday with John going back on everything, yeah, I ended up sleeping till 2 or 3 or whatever. When I went to bed, I was really, really drunk. I didn't realise how drunk I was. I had bought a bottle of Pinot Noir, cheap Pinot Noir at the supermarket, with what was left of my own money, and then a whole bunch of stuff from... I went away and then I came back because I felt really guilty. And then I used what was left from my Wynn's payment card to buy a whole bunch of food, and that's sort of relevant because the food and stuff that I bought represented a commitment to living somewhere that isn't outside. Like I said, I had to throw out most of the food that I had bought for Haka House, and the same thing went for Liu at the Alcala Lodge. I mean, these people have just cost me so much money and food is really important, and I'm really underweight, and it's just not fair. And John's playing dumb, but he can't because everything, we didn't have that many, we had a few phone calls, and when I go through and explain the whole thing, I'll because it was largely over text message, a few emails and a few phone calls, and then there were sort of missed calls, and I wasn't being sneaky, but I would, when I remembered, just would add, or something like, oh, thanks for the call, or thanks for dropping off the bed or something, just to indicate that some activity had occurred in between, because the text messages are not the whole of the communication record, whole of the communication, and not everything is on record, but I'll go through at some point. But I don't want to sort of delay on this too much. What I want to do, just for now, because I can't do it in writing, is not in my state, is just to go through the events of yesterday. So there's a big chunk of text message. Well, maybe there's not a big chunk of text message going, but between John coming over yesterday, and I did arrive on time at 25 past, I think, 4, like I said, and he was here in his black van, and he was in a bit of a hurry, and so he had said over text message, as we can see, that he wanted to come over to talk about the contract, and yet when he came over, it was to drop off this big aluminium shelving unit. Well, it's not, it's shelving, but it's just something for him, because this room, it's very confusing, but I'll get into it in a minute. I'll try to get a bit of chronology together. And he had the divan bed, and I was not expecting to have the divan bed so quickly, and it was amazing. And he couldn't find the so the bed was, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what's going on? Is he moving stuff in, moving stuff out? I didn't recognise it as a divan bed immediately, but then I saw the drawers stacked up. So there were the drawers stacked up, which I thought were for a shelf, and then there's the divan bed, and he apologised that he couldn't find the mattress, but I said, oh, that's fine, because this is the foam rubber ones that he already had, like this, but thicker. I was using that as a backboard. I don't know if I've taken photos of how my bed was. And I said, that's okay, mattresses are, I can get a mattress, and, obviously, as I showed you, St. John shop delivers free of charge, so I could get a mattress delivered, and he said, no, don't worry, I'll find it, I just have to get around to it, and I said, this will be fine for now. And the thing about John is I really felt, and see, I am no judge of character, but he really seemed really genuine, and he seemed really genuinely concerned about the conditions he was providing me, and for him just to go completely cold and to not care at all, honestly, to try to tell me that he just wanted to give me somewhere till the weather gets better when it's only going to get fucking worse, is just so ridiculous. And it's just showing no concern for me whatsoever. And he won't engage whatsoever on the contract. He won't tell me what's wrong with it. He won't do anything. And I think what has put him off is the fact that he just doesn't know that he can't evade the law. And then when I talk about the law, he thinks that it means that I'm going to start litigating. But anyway, I won't get into that because I'm getting sidetracked, but that's the way it is. But anyway, so he put the divan in here. He had we moved it together, and he had brushed it all off and that kind of thing. And because it was missing one wheel, he's just chopped it up with one piece of wood, which has kept it stable. And he was talking about coming back with a drill to, screw it into place and that kind of thing. So, it was full steam ahead. There was full steam ahead. There's all this. This is not the behaviour of a man who insists, who genuinely wanted me to be here for 2 weeks and then to be gone. It's just not. So yeah, when I arrived yesterday, and this is me trying to improve, there's just drafts there, so I made some efforts to improve it, and I moved the glass off the rug and put them on my rubber gloves, which is a bit better. And I thought I'd move the rug, but unfortunately it's screwed down, and I didn't try too hard to unscrew it because I thought, look, John is a little bit touchy, and I didn't want to start throwing my weight around, and that's why having an agreement's quite important. But it's very strange. Like I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, when I arrived, his black van was there. Well, it was on the road actually, and then he moved it into there when he saw me, and he asked me about these things, and he says, "Is that to improve your access up?" And I said, "Yeah, because of the rain. I'm just a bit worried about slipping." I said, "My sneakers don't have great tread." And so that came over here. I mean, these are all rotten, so it's not. And the other day, when he had arrived, I had to put together a timeline. It wasn't yesterday, it was like the day before or the day before that. He had thrown the rubbish bin over and put it up there for me, and then I decided to put it there so it has no lid, just so it doesn't get the rain. What I didn't in the video that I showed Wendy, but I couldn't see in the dark, that's the backyard over there, and that will be the back place that he talks about. And I don't know what he talks about the water for. It's as if he has to shut the water off on the front in order to shut it on in the back. So in the back, but on the front, I'm a bit confused. But obviously, like, I'm not. I can't help the commentary. He said, after I'd asked several times about the heat pump thing, he said he had taken it away with him to see if it worked, but he's been a bit cagey about it. Initially, he said the heat pump didn't work, and then when I gave him the money for the heating, he said I could use the heat pump because I said that I'd ordered a heater, an off-in heater, and it's just a bit weird. I mean, I can kind of understand him saying, no, you can't use the heat pump, when you're doing someone a favour and you don't want to use a lot of energy, power. I understand that, but it's just weird, like, why would you take the heat pump remote away? I watched him, neither of us, he didn't try to turn the heat pump on or anything, like, he just took it away with him, so I don't know, like, maybe he's going back and forth on whether he wants me to use that power. But the other day, by the way, just when I'm here, because it is a bit of a jumble, I hear to say that the window needs to be fixed, and you can see that it's not the most secure. And you know, look, I am not here at all to hold him to any standards whatsoever. As I said to him at the very beginning, I'm concerned only about stability and not really about condition. I need a stable place to live. And anyway, he bought me these 20 litres things of water the other day, which was for cleaning, flushing the toilet and stuff, but actually 40 litres does not go very far. In fact, I think in America it takes 40 gallons, one flush of a toilet, which is unnecessary, but you know. And I just sort of, this is a bit of a mess, but you know, as I'd taken videos, like I bought this Koya mat, and I was really umming and ahhing over mats because I didn't want them to think I was being pushy, and I didn't want to take, you know, but I chopped up my camping roll, you see, because I wanted to just make it more flush and just make it so there wasn't a draft there. But anyway, that got a bit fucked up. But you know, like I've been making investments, and the thing is that he hasn't asked me to do those things. He talks in his text messages about, or whatever, you know, I made this offer and whatever decisions you made, you know, basically, you know, you're responsible for those. Now, of course, the decisions that I make without, you know, that aren't based on anything directly or indirectly, he's said to me, are of course my own. He didn't ask me to invest in those sorts of things. And here's the key, by the way. So he gave me it's on the toilet. Yeah. So I mean, he's given me a key. You know. Anyway, so I'll just try to stick to the. It's very difficult. I don't know how hard I should be on this. I'll probably go through and talk about things more later, but you know, like he brought this thing through because he wanted something very nice, and he just wanted to make sure that, you know, he's like, do you want to use this room, do you want to use the other room? And I said, look, it's your house, it's totally up to you. Because he was talking about clearing out this room and making it more livable for me, you know, so I'm not just in my bedroom. And the thing is that there aren't many PowerPoints that work, and I said to him, you know, I don't use this room, except I do open the curtains during the afternoon, because that's when the afternoon sun comes flooding in, and it's better to get, you know, natural heat and light in, because it's actually a very cold house. My hygrometer is not here, so I don't know what temperature it is, but it's fucking freezing. And my Briscoe's oil fin heater order got cancelled. I'm not exactly sure why, but whatever, I'm kind of relieved, because I bought one anyway, which is why I Ubered back with one the other day. And when I had Ubered, because you can see in the text message I say I'm Ubering back now, he's like, oh, do you catch Ubers? Looking a bit disdainful, or a bit like, oh yeah, she really don't like, and I'm like, no, I don't catch Ubers at all, but I've taken some big things back on the bus, but there's no way I can carry an oil fin heater on the bus. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's no fucking way. Like, I've taken I'm very determined, but there's no way you can take that back on the bus. It's fucking heavy. These things are really heavy, and it was in a box with lots of packaging, and I got it from Click and Collect, and the Click and Collect counter lady said you're going to have to get a trolley because you're not able to carry it to the door and to your car. And I said, I'm getting an Uber, but she's like, yeah, but you need to get it out to the Uber, you know. So I don't know, like, for fuck's sake, I don't have a car, I needed a heater, you have to make choices. I hate paying for, you know, Ubers and taxis. They seem like such a waste of money, but fuck man, you know. Anyway, so he said he wanted to talk about the contract, but there really wasn't much to do with it, and I had printed off 2 copies and I'd given him a copy, and it just didn't seem like he was particularly keen on talking about the contract. And we were talking about it while carrying furniture through, and this one, as I said, I am getting distracted because I have ADHD, I'm tired, I'm traumatised, that's just the way it is. We carried this one through, and he, you know, he was very concerned about where it would be, where it wouldn't bother me, and I said, look, it's fine in the hall there. He did want to put it in here so he could pack all of his sort of stuff more carefully so I could have this room. Like, he was just really concerned about, you know, which rooms do you want to use, you know, and because I had told him, and I made it really clear, and I've shown him before, that this is all a big mess at the moment. Like, I've been trying to air things out that have been in storage. I don't need my summer clothes, I can go back in storage, but as I said at the beginning, please be patient with me. And he said, that's fine. I said, you know, I'm not in good shape and I've got a lot to do, and it's just a matter of prioritising. And I repeated that to him yesterday because I feel really, I mean, this looks awful, but obviously, like, that's not, you know, not all of the mess is mine. It's very hard to tell which is mine and which isn't, but mine is like mostly the bedding and the clothing on the racks and stuff that I'm airing out. And he just said, that's fine, you know, he was just absolutely fine with it being like that. He said he understood and no problem. And I said, actually, this thing being here, because he thought, oh, that's not very good for you here. And I said, no, actually, it's quite good because it's a surface for me to fold things on because I don't really have one. So we're all good with that. And he said, you know, if I didn't like it. And I said, no, it's great. I think it's a really good surface for you to put things on. But we were talking about the contract as well. And when he was asking me, you know, where I'd want to be in the house, you know, I said, well, John, that does depend an awful lot on the contract, because we've got to figure out, you know, like, I've left those fields empty for you to sort of say, well, which areas am I allowed to use, because this is your house, and it has to be your house and not my house, otherwise it's going to be the RTA. So, and I was getting quite flustered, and, you know, he had paid no attention, as far as I could tell, to my saying, you know, when he said he wanted to come over in an hour to talk to me about the contract, that it's like, when I said to him, I said, that's fine, but I'm brain damaged and cognitively injured, and, you know, I did share this with you, and he's an iPhone user as well, so whether or not he's trained, you know, he knows how to, he can collaborate on the note that I invited him to, and the note was, you know, we can both make sort of tracked changes. And then I, you know, did go to the effort of getting it printed and getting it prepped for printing and taking out the identifying information and stuff, you know, and getting it printed at the warehouse stationery yesterday. So, you know, because he said he was coming over to talk about the contract, and we didn't talk about the contract, but he was just like really iffy and cagey about it. And, you know, I had put down that it would be, I worked really, really, really hard at the pricing. Like, I was really going back and forth about the pricing. I would rather put myself, you know, I'd seriously rather pay him more, and I'd pay him, you know, like, I don't want to get on the wrong side of the law, but I would really pay him out of, you know, I'd give him money, extra money off the books, but I'm not putting normal rental and stuff prices and pricing structures when it's just going to look like the RTA, you know. And, you know, he was not forthcoming about writing a simple contract himself, which I told him, all you need to do is write this and this and this. And so I laboured over this because I thought, okay, well, he's got a lot going on, I've got a lot going on, but I'm going to take the responsibility of writing this contract. And then we've got something to start with, and I made that abundantly clear, both in text messages and over, you know, in person. He says he just didn't really like the contract, and I said, you know, John, I really think this is something that we should collaborate on. That's what I intended. I really don't want this to be contentious. Like, I don't want us to argue about this. I want us to collaborate on it. It's like he just wanted to push back at it, but he didn't. So firstly he wanted to push back against it, whereas saying it's not a take it or leave it, it's something for us to start with, because a blank piece of paper is not an agreement. So this is what I wrote up, and I put a lot of effort in, and it's all pretty fucking standard. Like, I'm trying to put enough specificity in there about which room. Like, I'm trying to make it very clear that it's not my house. And so when he was asked, because if it's my house, then it's the RTA, and he doesn't want to get involved with the RTA. So, and then I said the occupant should pay the contribution of $42 a week for power, and I was really sort of agonising over that price. I was thinking, what was I paying a month when I was living alone last winter? And I don't think it was more than that. And the thing is that it's going to look really dodgy if I'm paying for a whole fucking house worth of internet, power, because that would, indicate that it's my house, not a shared house. And he already had the power on, so he's already paying a line charge. And I'm not saying that I'm looking, I literally said to him, I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I'm just trying to make something that doesn't look, like it's going to look like a residential tenancy if I start, it's going to look like we're trying to contract out of the Residential Tenancies Act. He's like, oh, no, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, well, we've got to be realistic about what this is. I said, we're paying $44 a night, and we paid a lump sum of $308. And the thing is that if I was paying $350 a week for a room, it's just starting to look like, why is she paying that much? And at Haka House, $44 a night that's a pretty standard sort of deal to get in a hostel. But I'm not you don't get a private, a backpackers or whatever. But I've got a private room, I'm not in a dorm. And as I said, this is all negotiable. I'm just giving us a starting point, and he just really didn't want to negotiate. He was just, and he wouldn't be specific, and you can see to this very moment he will not respond to anything. And he was just saying, look, I just wanted to, he was just getting quite whiny, saying, I just wanted to provide you with somewhere to live. Just want it to be simple. And it's like, John, if it's simple, then it's going to be the RTA. That's how it works. It can't be that simple. We've got to agree on terms and conditions. And I don't see a damn problem with any of this, except it's quite weird how firstly he wants to just do me a favour and not taking money from me, and now he's asking me if $42 a week of power is enough. And it's like, well, I don't know, but I don't think it's appropriate that we list anything higher than that, because it's going to look suspicious. And the fact of the matter is, and this is fine, because I would pay, I push myself to I'm not in a position where I'm going to start haggling with him, but it's drafty. There is one PowerPoint in my room. We're not even yet sure, because the agreement hasn't been put together, what access to the other rooms I have. John did discover some other PowerPoints that worked, but they're quite deep into the rooms where, I don't know, I don't want to heat the fucking entire house when I'm renting a room. I've got this, and I told him I sit here sometimes because I can charge my phone and I can have a heater, whereas in my room I can't, because I would not put, there's only one PowerPoint and you can't, I just wouldn't put a high drawer appliance plugged into a multi-plug with my phone. Except I did buy this yesterday for $10.50, and it meant I had to put some food bags. So this is overload protection. And I know there's different levels of it, but, you know, that means that I could have, you know, more than one thing plugged in my room. But yeah, we just were not, I'm just like, I was getting really stressed out because he was talking on and off, and he said, oh, I am listening. And it's like, well, what do you mean? You came over here to talk about it. What do you mean you're listening? Like, you're doing me a favour. You came over to talk about it, and now we're just moving furniture in. And the furniture was for me, like the bed was for me directly, and this is for me indirectly, so I have space in here if I want to use it. But I was saying, John, I can't make those decisions until we agree on the terms of my occupancy here, like what is available to me. I can't, this is a very drafty old house, and I'm really pleased to be here, but we have to negotiate what is available to me here. And look, if I'm going to have access to all of the house, I mean, it's not that I have to use all of the house even if I had access to it, but it's like, well, I don't want John to go to a whole lot of effort, like moving his stuff out of the way if I'm not going to go into a room that I don't want to heat. And he doesn't like it when I have the curtains open because he says that people will look in. And he's right to an extent, like we know that about cars, don't have your handbag or anything like that showing, don't tempt people, you know. But it's like, I said, look, there's definitely the case for an abandoned house, but, and this wasn't, we weren't talking about this yesterday, it was the occasion before, I said, it's actually really good to have someone clearly, noticeably, like if someone was casing the joint, it's really good to have someone opening and closing curtains. And, you know, that kind of thing. And he didn't want me opening curtains down the side of the house, but this is where the morning sun comes in. And again, I didn't want to step on his toes, and I was umming and ahhing because I don't have much money, but it came out. Here's this removable checkerboard window film, and I'd been trying to buy some of this for ages. Well, not checkerboard necessarily, but it hadn't been available. But you just, yeah, it's just like, you know, like a kind of a window coating that can look almost like maybe, you know, like, oh, I can't see anything. It would be like in the bathroom, you know, just where the view is, yeah, obstructed, so people can't see details like this, right? It's that kind of idea. And then there are actually stained glass sort of solutions. So I didn't want to make any of those kind of big, you know, I mean, to me that would be a big choice to make, knowing John to the extent that I know him. You know, and there's lots of, yeah. Anyway, he really did not seem to want to talk about the contract, and we really got nowhere with it. And then he said he had to go because, and I'm not trying to get him into trouble, but I'm just recording everything. He said that he had to go before it got dark because that van that he was using to bring things over was not warranted or registered or whatever. It wasn't, you know, he wasn't supposed to be driving it, I think. And I guess if it were after dark, I don't know, whatever, but he needed to get going, and I guess that was something like, because he was like, what's the time? I said, I don't know, but it must be about 4:45. That was my estimation. And then he would have probably not left for at least 20 minutes after that. But he just kept going over and over, you know, like, I just wanted this to be simple, I just want to offer you somewhere to live, I don't want this to be complicated. And I was just really struggling to explain to him that, John, I have to give some sort of agreement at Wins or I can't pay you. And he completely was on board with the accommodation supplement thing. And I said, I have to submit a contract to Wins that Wins will accept. And even though they're not the the house police, they are still going to look at something that's unusual a little bit more closely than they would a residential, a tenancy agreement. And it needed to look like what we intended it to be, which would be something like I had at Haka House, at least for now. And I keep saying over and over and over and over again, I can't believe how many times I had to say to him, this is not our permanent agreement. This is a temporary agreement that will last us for 28 days, which we through me are pretty damn sure is kosher for a temporary accommodation. So that's fine for now, and then it gives us enough time to look more deeply into a more appropriate legal contract that still avoids the RTA to the extent, because it's up to him, but means that money's coming in. And he actually said, I'll get this into you tonight. But then when I said to him when he's getting in his car, I asked to get that to me tonight, and he was like, why would I get it into you tonight? I was like, well, that's what he had said. And I said, well, at this point it's after 5, so obviously I can't submit it. And he's like, yeah, so why would I get into tonight? And I said, well, it's because a lot of work needs to go into the application. And I've already, he just doesn't, at the very beginning, he was saying that he'd only been reading the first couple of lines of my text messages, and it's like, well, that's a brilliant fucking way to get information, isn't it? So I'd actually picked this up from Wynn's yesterday in Papanui when I went to get my new payment card, so he could see. So all of this stuff, I can do it online, but it's the same thing, like there's a lot of information to fill in. And I can't, there's almost nothing that I can fill in without A, his agreement, and B, his information. And I said, look, let's just get something in. Get the money coming through. And he made it very, very clear that he needed the money. And so all that is, and I really, 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 really do think that he honestly believes that there is a way to exchange money in a non-private way, exchanging money for goods and services. There are things excluded from it, like, family arrangements, and I think like Trade Me and Marketplace, I don't think that falls under the CGA. There are some things that don't, and the houses don't. But housing is very tricky. Like, there is no way for us to have a situation in which I give him money in exchange for accommodation that isn't going to sit under one law or another. And he just said, I think that I was trying to trick him or something. And he wanted to know what the Haka House agreement was. And I'm like, well, why would it matter? I said, it would be better if you would look at... I said, it's really gobbledygook. And it doesn't look like gobbledygook to start with, but when it starts to get into the liability side of things, it was really like a 12-year-old trying to write something very professional, but is just very flowery. Because professional, writing is not flowery at all. It's just fucking ridiculous. And it was gobbledygook. And he accuses me of pulling out gobbledygook. And it's like, well, it is gobbledygook, and it's not enlightening at all. And the fact of the matter is they violated the contract. And it's like I don't think there is a template for these kinds of things. I think basically you just have to obey normal laws, and then it's pretty flexible. I said that's the whole point of having it. Like, you can look at another type of this contract, and I said it'd be better to look at something like Airbnb, which is a more professional setup and it has a whole legal team and it's international and all that kind of thing. It'd be better to look at that. And I said, look, I will send you the Haka House one, but again, it's the terms and conditions, and the contract itself is it's just that you will receive this for this, and the only way that my contract materially differs from it is in just setting out the scenario, where a haka house doesn't need to set out the scenario because we know it's a hostel. But this place, 78 Sherborne Street, is not known as a hostel. So I had to add things like Caitlin has the use of bedroom too. I've called that room the parlour, and this room the sitting room, and this one the bedroom, but that obviously doesn't make any sense. So I would say that this, Wendy said that in these houses, like this galley kitchen, that is not how these houses would have been. This would have been an entranceway, and we agreed that the archway here would indicate, there'd be some kind of vestibule here where there may be a cloakroom or something. And I don't know how grand it would have been if they'd have had servants, but this would be the place where you'd stand and be greeted and probably put your hat on a hat stand or whatever, and you might even, a maid may direct you to take a seat in I guess this would be the sitting room or something. But now this would probably be, if people lived here, it would totally work as a flat, but you'd either have 3 bedrooms and quite unequal bedrooms, or you'd have a family, probably the master bedroom, the kids' room, and then the dining / whatever, sitting room, living room, and there's, he says, I think that's the way it would go. And these are the things that I'd need to look into, because I have looked at boarding houses in Wellington, and I've looked at a couple actually, and I think a boarding house is probably the way that this would be set up rather than a holiday accommodation, like the agreement. But again, what I said to him is I need time to investigate these, whereas just the 28-day holiday home thing is just totally kosher for now, and that's just, I just could not get that across to him. And all of a sudden he's changing his tune, like he's saying things, like he's actually just fucking gaslighting me, saying I offered you this, and it's like, yes, but then you offered me this and I accepted. You see, like things change. When things change, one agreement revokes the other. It's like you don't write a last will and testament and then make it then go back to the first one. So I guess where I'm on shaky ground is the fact that, because I did get, as I said, I bought that bottle of wine, and I would only drink half a bottle of wine these days on an evening, but I drank the whole thing while I was talking to Wendy here for quite a long time, and then when I stood up I was like, whoa, I am so fucking drunk. So I barely, I just staggered to bed. Jesus Christ. I guess where I could have given up my rights is by subsequently saying, well, okay, so you've gone back and you've revoked your offer, rescinded your offer, and I said, okay, well then I'll move out on the 21st as originally agreed. So I don't know if that means that is now the last agreement, but I think I can be probably forgiven because I think that was duress. I think that would count as duress. I've looked at a little bit of contract law, trying to make sense of bits and pieces of it, and I think that that was made under duress, and I can show that because I've been chased out of places so often that although I'm not saying I'm on strong legal footing here, but even though I've been on strong legal footing in what are, supposedly professional operations like Haka House and Lilo and I suppose Alcala Lodge, even though I'm completely in the right legally, that, and these are civil matters, the cops, they'll call the cops and the cops will take me away. So cops, the thing is that being in the right when it comes to the police, it doesn't stop you being taken to prison, having all your stuff. The police is just might as right. Like, I've lost my possessions so many times, and it took ages to get that stuff back from you, and I don't even know if I've got it all from him. And so there's a situation is that I'm really vulnerable, and I was very drunk. And I think that would count as duress, really. And I've come back today and I have said, look, I was talking to Wendy about the CGA, and she said, she was talking about we were talking about the contract in general with John's offer, and she says it's only it only, the law comes in only if money is exchanged, and she was sort of gently rebuking me for something I said. But that's the CGA. That's not contract law in general. I don't know how strong a contract is without a financial exchange of finances, but if someone promises you something, and you accept that, and I've read basically what the main 6 characteristics of a binding contract are, and none of those necessitates an exchange of money. So what John doesn't get is that just because you don't want my contract doesn't mean that I can't live here. It just means that we go back to the last contract, which was that you would put me up until I get somewhere through Kayanga water, without money changing hands, which is not good. But I'm like, dude, you offered me that, and I accepted. And the thing is that if he doesn't want me here, that's okay, but he will have to find me somewhere else to live where I have, similar conditions to the ones that he's offered me. And he doesn't have any money, and he hasn't replied to anything, and I am, of course, always afraid that the police are going to knock at the door, because the police don't fucking know anything, and I'm so broken, I'm so worn out, I can barely fucking move. I was so grateful to have somewhere I could just be. Now, all of this could be retained. I've got stuff everywhere. Because the water's not on, and I stopped using that toilet as a fucking short drop, because I'm like, I don't think this is, you kind of look at the situation as it goes down the track, and you're like, I think where we're heading is a toilet that I can't use anymore, so I ended up scooping it all into a bucket that I put another bucket over the top of. And I was thinking about jimmying up a sort of a proper, maybe camping sanitation system or something like that. But in the kind of situation where I just get chucked out, and if he calls me a squatter, because when we were talking in person, he says, well, not that he was just, when we were first nutting out how we could do this, he said, well, there's nothing to say that I know that you're here, or anyone can move in, I wouldn't even know about it, that kind of thing. I think the jig's up on that. But, going through a court process, unfortunately, you can be right without not going through a court process. And the thing is that he could do what Harcourts did and say that I've left the human shit around and whatever. I don't even know how to get rid of it, and I'm so tired, and I've still got so much to do, and there are things that I haven't even managed to thank what's her name? From, you know, the little second-hand shop in Keith. What's her name? She's not Virginia, she's not Victoria. She's, and they're Seventh-day Adventists, and they're very salt of the earth and pretty kooky as well. What's her name? I've got her card. I want to call her by the correct name. It's important for me to do that at the moment for some reason. Oh, it's on here. You know, they just went above and beyond for me, and I still haven't managed to thank them. Like, there are things that are so fucking important for me to do that I haven't done because I'm just so fucking exhausted. Like, I'm just surviving. That's all I'm doing, is I'm just fucking surviving. And I'm not surviving very well, and I knocked my very sore arm again on this yesterday, and it's like I'm just falling apart. And when I woke up this morning, I was just like, I have got to die. How can I die? How can I die? And that's just been so frequently the problem, that I don't know how to die. Like, that's my biggest problem. I don't know how to die. And I was already going to, I already intend to die, and I was, you know, trying to think about how I can die while I'm living here, but not here, in a way that doesn't get John into any kind of trouble or makes his life any harder. Or I thought he was a really empathetic person, and I didn't want to distress him with that, but I was hoping that I would just be able to die of kidney failure here, and then go and quietly put things into storage and go them to the op shop and leave his place tidy, and then just crawl under the bushes like a cat and die somewhere. You know, I wanted that anyway. I don't intend to try to stay alive, but I don't know how to die quickly. I can't remember what her name is, and it's my favourite of the V names, but it's from that sort of half vintage, half junk shop on Ferry Road. She's got a yellow card. Oh, I'll just have to give it up for now. But there are so many things I have to do, and I don't know. I was saying to Wendy, like, I don't think John's stupid, but he just will not fucking get it. Like, I'm just trying to put something in place just to hold us legally until we can sort something out. And when I was talking previously about, I said, I can't afford a lawyer. I don't know about you. I don't think you can either. And he got his neck right up. His head was right up. But why would you need a lawyer? And it's like, for fuck's sake, man. Like, lawyers have uses other than fucking prosecuting people. And I was saying to Wendy, maybe John wasn't burned by his tenants. Maybe he was just rightly taken to task by them, because he says that this place it's been years since he's rented it, but it looks far, far, far more degenerated than years. Like, you know, like, I imagine something like 5 or 8 years. I mean, I feel like I should look him up in the tenancy tribunal and see. And he was very cagey, he didn't want to tell me where he lived. Like, never you mind where I'm coming from. And it's like, well, okay, but your email address is kind of horizontal. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's kind of more or less But yeah, I mean, I've done as much cleaning as I can. Like I've bought I took those out of my storage unit, and I took lots of things out of my storage unit. Like I've spent money like that could have been allocated other places. I've spent a lot of energy that I can't afford, but I want to go through and I want to like take all the fly shit and dust off this. Like I really want to make it beautiful, and I've cleaned as much as I can without having flowing water. This 20 litres has about 8 litres to go. There's another 20 out there, but it doesn't have a tap. I don't know how to get that water into that water. I can't lift 20 kilos. I have to put it in a, tip it in, you know, I have to tip it into a bucket. By saying I can't lift 20 kilos, I don't mean I'm a total weakling, but my arm is really, my left arm is not really functional, and you know, I paid $4 for this. That water's, I've just been using it to decant into that because it's an easier thing to then dispense into different things. But I bought that and for $4, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was just to flush the toilet after I'd fished all the fucking poo and toilet paper out of it. So, you know, like 40, I think humans actually go through over 40. I think the average household goes through over 40 litres of water a day. Anyway, and I'm not a household. I don't know if it's a household or a person, but that's not enough. And like we'd need to have I just, you know, what I did say to him yesterday about the power, when he was concerned that I wasn't going to pay enough power at $42 a week, which I think is more than enough considering that I can't wash my clothes here. There's no washing machine. I can heat water on my kettle, and that takes electricity. So even though it's not a water heating, I guess it still counts. But I'm not taking showers. I'm using 3 litres of water for a shower. That's 1.5 litres of soapy water and 1.5 litres of clear water. And then I'm washing my hands very awkwardly with a bottle occasionally. I've been using wipes. I've bought tissues, so like I've got these whole bunch of cloths that I really fucking wish I hadn't been cleaning with, because I have been sparing probably too much water trying to rinse them off, but they're really filthy because I washed the floor. I took a video of the place before I started cleaning, which was good, or before I subsequently started cleaning, because the floor was just covered in like dust and leaves and stuff. And I've washed the floor as much as I possibly can without wasting too much water, but it's still like, I would bet that it would still be quite black. I'm just going to have a look now. Like, again, I have to keep saying I'm not complaining. Like, this is what I signed up for. But I think John is being greedy. Then it's like he wants nothing or everything. Like, I'm not sure what the problem is. He just will not say. He says, I don't like the contract. And I said, well, I invited you to amend it. I invited you to write your own. Yeah, so look, that's not, like, my floors are never like that. That's still what it's like. It's gross. And, you know, I've wiped cupboards. No, I'm going to wipe all of the Like I do have actual cleaning wipes which I want to use, and I just wanted to show my gratitude anyway, you know. And that of course makes no obligation on John, but it's just like clearly one person has entered this in good faith and the other person hasn't. And the good faith that John was showing a man whose heart was bleeding. And he's now showing a man who's got no heart at all. If he was going to rescind his offer, which is no can do as far as I know legally, but if he was going to rescind it, he should have at least said, look, I'll give you a month. You know, or at very least I'll start the 2 weeks again. Like he was playing dumb, like, what do you mean you had 2 weeks and now you've only got 8 days? I'm like, you gave me 2 weeks and then halfway through that you said I could stay on, and then you suddenly said I couldn't, and so now I've only got 1 week. Like that's half the time to find an alternative situation. Like, he should at least reset the clock, and he should at least like offer me help to take things back into storage, because I've bought so much stuff here. As I told him over text message, and he never protested because we had agreed. I said I'll be bringing more essentials for my storage unit, and I've told him how exhausted it makes me, and I've shown him my supported living payment medical certificate. Like, I don't know what to do. I guess I will. If he's just going to stonewall me, then I would have to say that that's a stalemate. Although I might just clarify with him if this is a stalemate. I said, look, if I don't hear back from you by, this is what I'll do. I'll say to him, if I don't hear back from you by 10 o'clock in the morning, no, it's still early enough. I said, if I don't hear back from you by the end of, before bedtime, I'm going, with, clearly stating his position or failing to state his position, just stonewalling, then that's a clear stalemate. And a stalemate is a dispute, and that means that I'll get on to filing a dispute tribunal application, and I'll work on that tomorrow, and then I can submit it on the next day, and ask if it can be expedited. But at the same time, I'm going to try and get all the stuff together and get it back into storage as well. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'll do that now. Yeah. And I'm going to have to work out a bit of a timeline based on, like, when we met, and he gave me his business card, like, and he wrote on it about the house, like, it's clear that from the beginning he was open to some sort of arrangement where he could receive money for providing accommodation. The fact he doesn't want to be involved in the RTA has nothing to do with that. He's not trapped. He's not trapped unless he's a dodgy fucking motherfucker.